Let's solve another system of equations by graphing. 2x plus 2y equals 10. I'm going to use my intercepts. That was one method we used for graphing equations. So we get 0, 5, because if I put a 0 in here, I get 2y equals 10, so y equals 5. Likewise, if I put a 0 in for y, I get 2x equals 10, so x equals 5. And I get the points 0, 5 and 5, 0. And we'll graph that line. Okay, y equals 4/3 x minus 2. Since this is in slope-intercept, I'm going to use the slope and the y-intercept to graph this. I know that 0, -2, my y-intercept, is a point on this graph. I also know that because of the slope, if I go 4 up and 3 to the right, rise over run, I will find another point on this graph. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for my rise, 1, 2, 3 for my run, and there's my line. And once we've identified the point at which they cross, we see that that is at 3, 2. So that is the solution to our system of equations. Okay, how about 3y minus x equals 4 and y equals 1/3 x minus 4? Let's see, I will use my y-intercept. That's not going to be pretty, is it? If I put a 0 in for x, I get y equals 4/3. This is 3y minus x equals 4. And if I put a 0 in for y, if I zero that out, then I get negative x equals 4, so x equals -4. So we'll go to -4, 0, and to 0, 4/3, and we'll graph that line. Now we'll look at y equals 1/3 x minus 4. If I put a 0 in for x, I'll get -4. And I want a nice number to multiply 1/3 of, so let's try 3. 3, 1/3 of 3 is 1. 1 minus 4 is -3. So that gives me that point, and over 3, down 3. And I have two lines that are parallel. They have the exact same slope. They are never going to cross. Now, when we have two lines that never cross, we say that that has no solution, and this is an inconsistent system. Alright, next one. 2y equals x plus 8, and y equals 1/2 x plus 4. 2y equals x plus 8. If we put -2 in for our y, I'm just picking numbers out, that gives us -4 equals x plus, oh, that's probably not a good one because that's going to give me a -12. That's kind of low. How about we stick with the 0 for y? Well, it'd be 0, -8. How about a 0 for x? 0, 4. And maybe a -2 for x. This is -2, that gives us 2y equals 6. Divide by 2, we get -2, 3. So 0, 4 is right here. Negative 2, comma 3 is right there. Now let's try this one. We'll go ahead and graph that. There we go. So y equals 1/2 x plus 4. Try 0, and that gives us a 4. Oh, we may have found our place. Then let's try a 2. 2 comma 1/2 times 2 is 1, plus 4 is 5, so 2 comma 5. Notice every point that's on either line is a solution to both. In other words, these two equations are two ways of expressing the same relationship. Whenever both equations have the same graph, then they have an infinite number of solutions. We call this a dependent system. Alright, from earlier we found the two rental options, and that gave us two equations. We had a daily rate, which was $80 for the 4 days at $20, plus 20 cents a mile. We also had a weekly rate that was $130, covered the whole week, but then the per mile charge was a little less. Now, if you distribute the 15 cents per mile and combine like terms, we end up with this expression. The cost is going to be $100 plus 0.15 times the number of miles. Now, to graph our chart, I'm going to have, let's do these in $20 increments. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. This will be our cost. And down here we'll have our miles. And we'll do those in increments of 50. So 50 will be 1 bar, 100 will be 2, 200 will be 3, 300 will be 4, or 300 will be 6, 400 will be 8, and so far. Alright, our daily rate looks like the y-intercept, or the cost, if we have 0 miles, is going to be 80. And if we do 500 miles, it would be 500 times 0.2 plus 80 gives us 180 miles. And so we can graph that line. That's our daily rate. Our weekly rate is going to start at 100. And let's see where we can find a nice number. What would be 200? If we do 0.15 times 200, that'd be 30. So this would be 130 at 200. That'd be right there. And we'll graph that line. That's our weekly. And it looks like they cross right here at 400 miles and $160. So if you drive 400 miles, you will pay $160 either way. On this side of the graph, you see the red line is lower, so that means the daily, it's cheaper to go with the daily rate until you hit 400 miles. After you've hit 400 miles, it's going to be more expensive for the daily rate. Our red line is higher, and so it would be cheaper to go with the weekly rate.